6:38, Nashville's morning news on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Good morning to you. You want to watch us on TV or whatever it is, your computer, your phone, you can. WTN TV is on Facebook, it's on YouTube, it's on our website, 997WTN.com, Twitter and Twitch as well. So check it out if you would like to. And also, you can stream us just about anywhere. And the Members Nutrition Super Text line, that is open, very active this morning. Thank you. It helps the host's ego when I get a lot of feedback. 615-737-9986. There's a lot going on. President Biden is going to be speaking in France here in the next, few minutes. I don't think Ken, has he actually spoken yet, President Biden?
Nope, not yet. Not yet, just Emmanuel Macron.
All right, very good. So we're all eagerly awaiting President Biden's speech, and we'll look forward to that, and we'll bring you highlights when that does happen. There's a lot going on. As far as the president goes, I was playing you earlier some audio from the former president, that is, of course, Donald Trump, and there is a lot going on. Trump is really making the rounds. Do you know who Trump is going to be on with today? Dr. Phil. So I guess Dr. Phil tweeted yesterday that he just finished up his conversation with former President Trump, and he said it is going to be must-see television. Meantime, you do have President Biden, and he is just one poll after another. It's almost like the president at this point, I think you could call him beleaguered. Joe Scarborough, because, his lack of real faculties and his declining cognition is in the news today, very much in the news today, along with a whole lot of other things. Joe Scarborough, from MSNBC and Morning Joe. This is from the Daily Wire. Morning Joe host has been dragged for a claim that Biden is sharper than Kevin McCarthy.
I saw this tweet and I had my jaw drop.
It is just stunning, isn't it, that he would say such a thing? And here's the thing, is that Joe Scarborough, I think this says more about Joe Scarborough than it does about Joe Biden, because Scarborough expects the American people and the people that follow him on Twitter to believe this. And it is, gaslighting the American people. Scarborough says, and this is from the Daily Wire, MSNBC host Joe Scarborough facing a virtual onslaught after he claimed in a Wednesday morning post that President Joe Biden was sharper than Kevin McCarthy. Even if you're no fan of Kevin McCarthy, there's no doubt which of these two guys is sharper. Scarborough began with that comparison between Biden and McCarthy and then doubled down, saying that Biden was in better shape than any Republican House Speaker with whom he had spoken in the last 3 decades. And on it goes. I'm not going to bore you with more of the deranged musings of one Joe Scarborough. But I do find it interesting because that is what's going on now. Yesterday, there was an interview, I think it was on CNN. Biden's spokeswoman was on, and her name is Adrienne Elrod. And she says, the president needs some audio, Jeff. The president, he hasn't slipped one bit.
I can tell you that he is sharper than ever.
So apparently now that is going to be the quote from the Biden campaign.
I can tell you that he is sharper than ever.
Now realize when old Adrian there says that Biden is sharper than ever. So what she's saying is even when Joe Biden was vice president, he is the same level of sharpness now than he was when he was vice president. Well, speaking of gaslighting the American people, obviously that is a joke. But let's go back to 2012 when you had Paul Ryan and Joe Biden debating. This is Joe Biden back in 2012.
If it's any senior out there, ask yourself, do you have more benefits today? You do. If you're near the donut hole, you have $800, $600 more to help your prescription drug costs. You get wellness visits without copays. They wipe all of this out, and Medicare becomes insolvent in 2016.
Listen, forget about the lies, but at the very least, he sounds sharp, he sounds confident, and he sounds focused. Honestly, when I heard that soundbite, it was like, oh, yeah. That's the Joe Biden I remember. This is the Joe Biden I know now.
That's my special envoy to monitor cabinet anti-Semitism, Deborah, you all. Biden administration is announcing the first tranche of dislocated worker grants, fancy phrase, which is dimes, all it is there to make sure it helps create jobs.
Right.
4 more years. Pause.
That last one is my all-time favorite when he says pause.
4 more years. Pause. 4 more years. 4 more years.
That is so funny. Man.
Pause.
Pause. And then all the guys in the room start chanting 4 more years because he was supposed to pause so that they could start chanting 4 more years.
I feel so bad. It's sad. Like, this is, I always look at this as like elder abuse. Because someone's pushing him to do this. Someone is pushing him up there to do this.
Well, it's his wife. Because let's face it, Dr. Jill, his wife Jill, she should be pulling him out of the Oval Office. She clearly, in my opinion, does not care about her husband. And the Democrats, they don't want to admit that they were wrong. They want to keep Joe Biden in power. And there are some people, they want to stay in power. And there's some people that say, and I don't know if I believe this, but there's some people that say that Joe Biden is the only Democrat that could beat Donald Trump, which I don't see how that's even possible, given the fact that he's, having such cognitive issues. But we'll have to wait and see what happens. If the Democrats ultimately decide to pull Joe Biden from the ticket, that is going to be something to watch. It is 6:45 on WTN. Time to check the roads on Super Talk 99.7. Thank you very much. 6:46 as far as your weather today goes. It's going to be sunny and a high of 87, 71 now at Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
I can tell you that he is sharper than ever.
All right, so clearly the White House is playing defense because of the article. I was telling you about this earlier. The articles in Time Magazine and also the Wall Street Journal. Coming up in the next hour, I'm going to play you some audio from the authors, some of these writers that have seemingly the inside scoop on Joe Biden and his cognitive decline, because the White House basically has come out now and they have said that the writers from Time and the Wall Street Journal, they are just liar, pants on fire. Don't believe them. That's what the White House is trying to tell folks, because, they're trying to say that Joe Biden is,
How much should a candidate's cognitive function factor into that decision when someone votes?
Hold on. It's my bad. Joe Biden is?
I can tell you that he is sharper than ever.
All right. Now, here's where I wanted to go with this. There was an interview with this woman that works for the White House, and she is a White House spokesperson, saying that he is sharper than ever. I've told you about the polling, where Biden is simply not doing well in the polling as it relates to this issue. Now, this is a great moment, because it was an awkward moment, because you have the Biden administration simply saying that, no, there's absolutely no problem with Joe Biden whatsoever. I want you to listen to this.
How much should a candidate's cognitive function factor into that decision when someone votes?
I don't even know what that question means. I mean,
when they vote, should they be thinking about which candidate, how they're functioning cognitively?
Sure, absolutely. They should.
All right, we'll leave it at that. Adrienne Elrod, Senior Biden Campaign Spokesperson, thanks for joining us.
Thanks.
All right, as we head to break, Hunter...
Now, the funny thing about that is the reporter in question, the anchor, it just got done talking about how poorly the president is doing in the polling related to his cognitive function. And then he asks the question, should the American people take into account their opinion on a presidential candidate's cognitive abilities? And when she says, I don't even know what that means, I'm going to say back to her, what do you mean you don't know what that means? Of course you know what that means. What that means is the American people have big time concerns about their president, Joe Biden, the guy that is supposed to be helping our economy and protecting America and representing America on the world stage. And he's simply not doing that and not doing that well. Whether we are talking about the border, whether we are talking about the economy and inflation, or representing America on the world stage. And so the more that these stories come out about the president, the worse it looks, because then the White House is going to have to be on a defense, because these stories, simply put, keep coming out. And the more that they keep coming out, the White House then has to continue to lie and gaslight the American people, lie to and gaslight the American people. And that just ticks everybody off. And that clip of Joe Biden, I remember, Ken, do you remember the debate between Paul Ryan and Joe Biden way back when, where Biden was he was laughing at Paul Ryan. He was sort of mocking Paul Ryan in that, vice presidential debate.
Yeah.
Joe Biden acted like such a darn buffoon. I don't know if you remember that. I remember that like it was yesterday, because I was so put off, because I was, of course, rooting for Paul Ryan, being the conservative that I am. And I mean, Biden he again acted like a buffoon, and even offered Paul Ryan, because Ryan kept drinking water and he was nervous, And so Biden says, well, would you like some of my water? And Biden was just really showed that he is not a class act back in 2012. But you can tell the difference between Biden then and Biden now. And I will say, by the way, that I understand that old people get old. I mean, I will fault Joe Biden for a lot of things. I will fault him for, the way that he raised Hunter. I will fault him for constantly lying to the American people. I'll fault him for plagiarizing. I will fault him for faulty policies. I can't fault the man for getting old. I mean, people do get old. It's going to happen to everyone. It's going to happen to me. It's going to happen to you. It's going to happen to everyone. But he put himself in this situation. And the people around him are keeping him in this situation. And that is putting America clearly at risk. It is 6:51 on Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. I want to tell you about my buddy Paul Winkler. Listen, who do you trust when it comes to your money? Now, I turned to Paul Winkler years ago, and I still use him today. Now, a lot of these other financial folks, they all say different things, but they all have one thing in common. They all have something to sell. So then you've got to ask yourself the question, all right, so are they looking out for my best interest? Well, I would say no. They're pitching their own products for their own benefit. Now, Paul likes to put it this way. If you worked for a car company, wouldn't you say that your car is the best? It is the same thing with banks and insurance agents who sell investment products. Paul Winkler is looking out for your best interest, and he's not going to try and sell you something. He's actually going to teach you how to relax about money. Now, you do need to know that I get paid every time I do these commercials, but I wouldn't be doing them if I didn't believe in Paul and his guidance. And you will too when you call him for a free consultation. 615-851-1950. 615-851-1950. Paul's got 10 offices conveniently located across Middle Tennessee. One great website, it's paulwinkler.com. 6:53, time to check the not the headlines, but we're going to tease the newscast coming up. Hello, Ken.
Yeah, new traffic sensing technology installed in Nashville. We'll tell you what it does and why. Reward increased for information on a Christmas Day road rage murder in Nashville. And that summer cookout going to set you back more than it did last year at 7 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.